What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. I hope you're all keeping well. Back again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the latest announcement, of course, that came out from the GAA in the past couple of days in regards to the GAA announcing that there will be no replays this season and that drawn games will be decided via penalties. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of reaction to this. There's been a lot of controversy, a lot of people speaking about it. So what I thought I would do was make a video looking a little bit at some fan reaction, looking a bit at what Pat Spillane has said, breaking it down. I was also in a podcast recently as well with GAA Zone. GAA Statsman was there as well. So we were talking a little bit about the possibility of penalties. Now, personally, I'm against it. I do believe that penalties, in my opinion, shouldn't be the right way to decide a Gaelic football match. In my opinion, I believe that, you know, when you have penalties at the end of a soccer game, fair enough, because the sport is essentially played on the ground. You kick the ball off the ground, but in my opinion, it should be decided in a Gaelic footballing element of the sport. But we will get into that in just a moment. So I suppose first of all what we'll do is we will have a look at what Pat Spillane said on the Sunday game recently. So if we just have a look at some of the quotes here. So basically what he said was, a fella misses a penalty, an individual has just cost his county the All-Ireland title. I think the fairest system is, yes, extra time, but then golden score. First team to score wins, collective responsibility in victory, collective responsibility in defeat. He also went on to say that to lose an All-Ireland final with a missed penalty, I wouldn't like to be that player heading back to the county. Now, as I said before, I don't really agree with Pat Spillane in his last statement where he said, I wouldn't like to be the player heading back to the county, because I think that in Gaelic football and in hurling, you're going to have those situations anyway. You're going to have situations where a player possibly lets himself down in a final. You know, you think back to multiple All-Ireland finals in the past where big players have let themselves down in big games. I mean, you look at Mayo, for example, some of the errors Rob Hendley has made, Killian O'Connor missing that decisive free both in 2016 and in 2017. I think, you know, that element of it I don't agree with. In my opinion, I just feel that with the sport of Gaelic football, there is better ways to decide a football match, in my opinion. I feel like in hurling, fair enough, if you're going to have a penalty shootout, you are bringing in the hurling element of the game to decide the match, which of course you're obviously hitting the ball with a hurley stick, so it makes perfect sense. But I just feel like with Gaelic football, you're hitting the ball off the ground. It just doesn't feel right, in my opinion. I think another thing we're pointing out as well is that there's only going to be 5 penalty kick takers. So it's not going to be like in soccer where you have sudden death and it just keeps going on and it goes to the goalkeepers. You're only going to have 5 kick takers, and I feel like that's going to massively benefit the likes of the Dublins, Kerrys, the Donegals, for example, especially Dublin, for example, who will be able to bring on more forwards and more penalty takers in the closing elements of a game, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I was in a podcast with the GAA Statsman and, of course, Patrick from the GAA Zone. You might have seen him recently on my channel where we were speaking about Dublin versus Donegal in 2014. Now, I was speaking with Matt, obviously, from the GAA Statsman, and he was saying that he does believe that penalties are the right way to decide a game.
So, Matthew, we will go to you first, and I want to know, why do you support the ideas of penalties in GAA if the games cannot be finished?
First of all, I think there'll be a lot of entertainment for fans, entertainment at the end of games. It takes a lot of bottle to step up, take a penalty for your team, and the confidence to potentially win an All-Ireland title. Making an error or missing a free in an All-Ireland final, just the same as missing a penalty, in my opinion. You take, for example, Rob Hendley 2016, dropping the ball against Dublin, or Killian O'Connor hitting the post in the same game, or even I go back, Colm O'Neill in the 2015 Munster final, missing a late free against Kerry. So I think it'd be refreshing for the GAA to have something like this.
Well, I suppose first of all, I definitely agree with Matt there in the sense of from the fans' point of view. Like, it definitely is. It does make for great entertainment, but I just think like fair enough if you're gonna do it in 2020 as a once off for 1 year, but I just think in like a specific All-Ireland final, like if you could imagine you had Mayo, say for example, play, I don't know, Armagh, like obviously it's very unlikely, but let's just say them two end up playing each other in an All-Ireland final, and then you have it decided by penalties. Like it just seems like a very unfair way to just decide like one game, one specific match. And I think as well, like when you actually look at it, like fair enough in hurling, like you're actually hitting the ball with a hurley stick in a penalty, so that's fair enough. But I actually think in Gaelic football as well, and maybe it's something that Pat Spillane and Kieran Whelan didn't really touch on, but like fair enough, yeah, it is an actual, like a skill to take a penalty, and it takes a lot of bottle in front of, I don't know, in front of Hill 16 or whatever, like. But when you actually look at it, like the big kind of skills in Gaelic football is obviously hitting it out of the hands and not hitting it off the ground. Like obviously fair enough, you have a 45, you have a penalty, but normally penalties are just a result of a foul inside the box, and then you have an exact penalty as a result of that. Whereas in this situation, it's deciding a game, and in many ways it's almost like a flip of a coin. Like, and I suppose it will go down again to who has the better bench, because obviously, like say for example, Dublin will be able to bring on multiple forwards. Like, and I'm saying that from a Dublin point of view, like it's actually probably going to benefit Dublin, but I actually think with some of the other counties it might not benefit them as much, unless they have, you know, midfielders that can take penalties as well. I just think, in my opinion, just as a once-off for one game, I think it's a slightly harsh way to decide a game.
Other than, you touched on the replay, but is there any other alternatives you'd give to the penalties, like if they're still level after extra time?
Yeah, like I think the golden score rule is like a good rule. Like you could have it as next score wins, but even what I'd probably do is I'd probably do the first to three even. So in that way you're kind of leaving it on the table, whereas if it's a goal, you know, fair enough, that ends the game, but then you could also have 3 points, so first to 3 points would win it. I think that would be a little bit fairer in my opinion. It brings more of the Gaelic football element into it rather than penalties.
That, to be honest, is blanket defence teams, in my opinion, would just park the bus and then the forwards won't be able to score. So it'll take ages that way for a team to score 3 points. And in some it won't work in some cases. Whereas penalties, most likely, you know, I think it'll work all the time.
Yeah, I suppose though the only kind of flip side of that, I think at the end of the day, whoever's the better team at the end, like even if it is a blanket defence system, like I think at the end of the day, whoever is the better team will win. Like whoever scores the most will win. So I think it's more of an accurate kind of way to end the game. Whereas I think like with the penalties, it's just more of a lottery in many ways. Like fair enough, there is a skill and there is bottle in penalties, and obviously there's a skill to save a penalty as well. But I just think like actually having either the first to three or even just 1 point even would be better. I suppose, yeah, like I can see what you mean to a certain extent, because obviously if you did have maybe 2 blanket defence teams, you know, we could be going on for another 20-25 minutes. But I do think that it's something that the GAA should definitely consider, in my opinion. Alright, so now what we'll do is we will go on Twitter to have a look at some various different fan reaction. Now there certainly are some interesting responses. So Colm Hawks here with his 5 Dublin penalty takers. So Clucko, Fento, Dermo, Dino and Mannion with an O as well. Very nice. If we have a look down here, Patrick Lynn, Mayo losing an All-Ireland final on penalties the week before Xmas seems like something that is likely to happen. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I chuckled a little bit at that one. I mean, you feel bad for Mayo, but you just know it's going to happen, don't you? And the funny thing is, Mayo and Dublin will play each other in an All-Ireland final if, you know, it goes according to plan. In terms of the way that the championship is laid out, I don't think that will happen personally. I still think Galway will win Connacht anyway. There was another comment here from Charlie McDonald, and he said, what odds would Paddy Power give on Mayo to win on penalties against Dublin Christmas week after Dean Rock slips on a snowball then falls out of, well, nowhere actually. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point as well. And as I said before, I mean, you guys would have seen the clip there with Patrick from the GAA Zone and of course Matt from GAA Statsman. And I mean, look, listen, he makes some good points. He does make some good points in terms of having the GAA, you know, having matches decided on the day. But I just think, in my opinion, that I believe, you know, there's better ways to decide a Gaelic football match than penalties. You know, we need to look at the sport. We need to look at how the sport is won. The goals that we see in Gaelic football, the majority of the time, are all kicked out of the hand. The only time that we will see goals go in when they're kicked from the ground is, of course, a penalty. And why are penalties given? Well, penalties are given because there is a foul inside the box, and that is the main reason for the penalty being given and taken. So, you know, I just think, in my opinion, that there are better ways to do it. I like the idea of golden score from Pat Spillane. I think it's a good idea. 1 point essentially decide a football match. I actually think as well what you could look at is maybe even the first to 3. So it's not just the points maybe that you're looking for. I think it would make things maybe more interesting. You know, maybe one team has 2 points, another team can go ahead and score a goal and win it that way. I feel like that would maybe be a little bit better. There was a couple of people on my Instagram that were saying potentially 45s would be a good option, and maybe it would be. Maybe 45s would be an option, but the only problem I think with that would be, you know, not every team has 4, 5, 45 kick takers, so maybe that would be the only issue. So if we do have a look here at some of the comments on Instagram. So I put up a post on Instagram seeing what you lads thought about the possibility of penalties, and these are some of the responses. So Lord of the Seagulls says a replay, as was the case for the whole history of the association. And again, very good point. A replay, I mean, what I don't understand why we're not talking about replays here. I mean, fair enough, we need to condense all the games. Okay, we need to condense all the games into one. We need the games to finish. We need the championship to finish. It needs to finish in 2020. There's gonna be a chance that there's going to be wintry weather conditions that are going to interrupt with that final anyway. There's going to be the possibility that that game is going to be played in 2021. It sounds weird, the 2020 All-Ireland final in 2021. You're going to have 2 All-Ireland finals in the same year. But I think it's likely that it happens anyway. So I think why not have a replay? Why not? You know, if it goes to extra time at the end of a game, why not have a replay? Some other comments here. A couple of people saying golden score is far better. Finn McCool says 45s. Ahern Michael, or Michael Ahern is probably his name, he says penalties be more entertaining for viewers, but golden score is more fair. And do you know what, if there was a comment that I could summarise with, I would say it's that, because penalties will be more entertaining, penalties will be exciting. I just think in terms of it deciding a football match for the players, I don't think it's fair. I think you should be looking at the Gaelic football side of the game to be deciding the game, in my opinion. But anyway lads, that is going to be the end of the video. That is just some of the reaction on social media and from some pundits and fans. I do hope you lads enjoyed. I will leave GAA Statsman's social media down below, his Instagram, and of course I will link Patrick's podcast, of course, GAA Zone, so do make sure you do go check that out as well. Of course, do hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you lads think in regards to penalties being decided, or being a fair outcome in terms of it deciding a big game. But anyway lads, that is going to be the end of the video. My name is Aaron, and I'll speak to you soon.